The Power of Their Story, number 106. Welcome back. Today we'll be looking at the Gospels of Matthew and Mark to see the results of one man's testimony. So let's get started. Matthew 15 verses 29 to 31. Mark 7 verses 31 to 37. Then Jesus left the region of Tyre and went through Sidon and went along the Sea of Galilee and into the region of the Decapolis. Then he went up on a mountain and sat down. Large crowds came to him, bringing the lame, the blind, the crippled, the mute, and many others, and laid them at his feet, and he healed them. Some people brought to him a man who was deaf and hardly able to speak, and they begged Jesus to place his hand on him. So Jesus took him aside privately, away from the crowd, and put his fingers into the man's ears. Then he spit and touched the man's tongue, and looking up to heaven, he sighed deeply and said to him, Ephphatha, which means, be opened. Immediately the man's ears were opened and his tongue was released, and he began to speak plainly. Jesus ordered them not to tell anyone, but the more he ordered them, the more widely they proclaimed it. The people were utterly amazed when they saw the mute speaking, the crippled restored, the lame walking, and the blind seeing. They said, He has done all things well. He makes even the deaf hear and the mute speak. And they glorified the God of Israel. My thoughts. Remember the last time Jesus was in this region? Matthew 8 verses 28 to 34. Luke 8 verses 26 to 39. Mark 5 verses 1 to 20. Jesus had healed some men possessed by a legion of demons, drowned a herd of pigs, and was shooed off by a bunch of freaked out people. The crowd couldn't get rid of Jesus fast enough. Now we see throngs of people, probably Jews and Gentiles alike, showing up to be healed by Jesus. The people had gone from freaked out to focused in. So now they can't say enough good things about Jesus. So what made the difference? One man's testimony. One of the men delivered from demons went to the Decapolis, 10 cities, and told them everything God, Jesus, had done for him just as the Lord had instructed him. Luke 8 verses 38 to 39. Apparently, this infamous man's story and radical transformation was enough to convince people who were originally scared spitless to not only trust Jesus to heal them, but gave him their overwhelming stamp of approval. Never underestimate the impact of someone's personal testimony paired with a lifestyle that supports it. As disciple makers, it's crucial that we equip those we mentor to share their story in a concise and compelling manner, highlighting the gospel of the kingdom. My story. For years, my wife Deb and I have been teaching people how to share a simple testimony with the gospel at its core. We've developed a method that we use to teach this important skill. Here's a link to what we teach. Over the past 15 years, I've had the privilege of sharing my story with thousands of people, and that's not an exaggeration. In all that time, I've kept track of how many people have declined to hear my story. The number might surprise you, only 11. Most of those were apologetic, citing a lack of time rather than a lack of interest. One of my most memorable experiences occurred in Tokyo's Shibuya Crossing, arguably one of the busiest and most chaotic places on earth. I called out to a Japanese man riding a bike and listening to earbuds, asking if I could tell him my story. To my amazement, he stopped, removed his earbuds, and in excellent English said, Of course. This unconventional approach worked because it's perhaps the simplest, most non-threatening way to share the gospel. There have been occasions where I've approached someone to share my story, only to realize I had already shared with them before. Twice, guys told me they had started attending church and reading their Bible as a result of our previous conversation. I made sure to remind them that my goal was to point them towards Jesus. While I can't claim to have led vast numbers of people to salvation, I can say with certainty that sharing the gospel has brought me incredible joy and radically transformed my own life. All of this stems from obeying a simple command. Go and tell them all the good things God has done for you. And as for that Japanese man on the bike in Shibuya Crossing, he gave his life to Christ as Lord and Savior that day. It's a powerful reminder that God can work in the most unexpected places and circumstances when we're willing to share our story. Our action plan. Now it's time for application. Here's some ideas. Develop a personal 1 to 2 minute testimony that has the gospel clearly articulated in it. Develop a simple, biblical, reproducing method to train others to share their 1 to 2 minute story. Make a list of all the people you associate with and set a goal to share your story with all of them. The power of personal testimony, when paired with a transformed life, can have a profound impact on others and lead to unexpected opportunities for sharing the gospel. By equipping ourselves and those we mentor with concise, compelling stories that highlight the gospel of the kingdom, we can effectively spread the message of Christ and potentially transform lives, just as the healed man's testimony changed the hearts of an entire region.